Okay. Ready for all of this to be over.
Me too.
Yeah, 3 to 6 inches of snow.
When? Today?
Thursday. It's gonna be windy on Wednesday because bringing the snowstorm in. So it's gonna suck. It's gonna be windy.
I hope it snows 12 feet. Personally,
No,
have enough snow.
whatever it snows, the wind is going to blow it.
That's true.
Do they hear us talking?
They do now because I just.
Oh yeah, we've been listening to your entire conversation the past few minutes.
I tell you, that Randy Watson over there about to come. He is one hell of a firecracker. Oh boy!
He is one son of. Never mind.
If you're wondering why I'm dressed like this, it's because the air conditioner is on in the office.
Why?
It gets hot in the kitchen and it's connected to the same HVAC. So
Hot in the kitchen.
I also like that the manager's office is uncomfortable because as a restaurant manager, you should not be in the office. You should be on the floor.
Oh no, I thought you were saying you could dress like that, but when people come in to talk to you, they don't want to stay.
Right. Well, there's that too.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
There's Randy blowing his top again.
Yeah, well, well, actually, Mike hasn't come on the call yet, so I'm not blowing my top. No. Oh God.
So what's the weather been like and how was the weekend?
You're not getting a lot of answers on that one, huh?
I guess not.
What's it like in Hawaii? That's more interesting.
You
I was
don't
going to
wanna
say, I
know.
think we'd all rather be in Hawaii and not talk about this weekend.
Yeah, it's cold. It's really
Okay.
cold.
And icy and windy.
Should I change my background?
No, that's good.
Okay.
Hi, Dr. Ryan.
Hello, everyone. Hey, Andrew, do you know if Mayor Hillman got my message this weekend?
He did.
Okay, good.
He called me about it, so I know he got it. So,
Okay.
yes.
Hello, everyone.
Good morning, afternoon.
Hey there, Mike.
Chip, you can say good morning, afternoon, can't you?
I can. There, it's morning here, so.
All right, thanks everybody for joining us. We're gonna go ahead and get started. Hope everybody had a good weekend. It seemed like it was pretty busy, not like last weekend, obviously. I think that was due to, one, the holiday weekend, and the down the hill, they weren't open to the orange orange level yet. So that kind of affected us this weekend now that the Denver metro area and other counties down the hill are open. Other than that, I didn't see anything too major. Keeping up with all the changes and what other communities are doing. Like I think Broomfield is fixing to go, or already has gone to a yellow under the 5-star program. But that's about all I saw. With that, we like Dr. Ryan to come on and give us an update of what's going on, what he sees, and what to expect over the next week or so. So Dr. Ryan, thanks for being with us again today. We're going to give the floor to you and hear your update for everybody.
Thanks, Mike. Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, Chip.
Good morning.
Things are going in the wrong direction. I'll be honest with you. The state saw 4 days post-Christmas an instant upward trend of its case numbers, and it has not stopped growing since then. So we're headed in the absolute wrong direction. The next several weeks are likely to play out similarly. I have zero reason to believe it's going to. As you know, the country continues to be on fire. I know I use that analogy a lot. We've set many records, continue to set records in terms of hospitalizations, cases, and fatalities. It seems like with every week. Now approaching the 400,000 fatality marker by probably the end of the month. So here in Clear Creek County, we are also headed in the wrong direction. We had 22 cases in the last 7 days, 45 in the last 2 weeks. Our incident rate is now at 462 per 100,000. So we've gone up 100 literally in the last 2 weeks in terms of that. So headed in the wrong direction. I know the governor gratuitously moved everyone to orange, even though half the counties numbers are actually in red. And those are the numbers that we really need to pay attention to about any sort of movement, because those are the numbers that will allow to the discussion earlier, any sort of 5-star program to be implemented, right? We can't pop up a 5-star program next week and hope to be operating in yellow. That's not how it works. Clear Creek's numbers would actually have to be in the actual orange for a 2-week period before the 5-star program would even kick in. So we're not anywhere near that. And I'll be quite honest with you, I don't see us getting into the orange level anytime soon based on what I see nationally and statewide. It's just not realistic. The other variable that we've talked about last week is the variant. When the variant moves around the state, as it likely already has begun, when you have something that's 70 times more transmissible than the previous iteration, you have numbers that can explode literally in a week's time. There's a number of nursing care facilities around the state where that's happened. They had a massive number of cases in a week's time, all directly potentially attributed to that variant. So expecting the same across the state, there's really no reason to think that it wouldn't be moving around the state, given people's movement around. So that's where we're at in terms of the cases and our numbers and our designation, color designation. I wish I had better news for you, but that's the reality. As far as vaccinations, it's been as confusing as it could possibly be. The rollout in our county has gone absolutely flawless. We've vaccinated north of 400 individuals so far in our county, and we'll continue to do so. As you know, the governor makes unilateral decisions and announces them to the world at the same time we hear about them. So we have to jump to and suddenly field 600 phone calls from 70 plus folks across many counties because people believe they can go to any county they want to get vaccinated. So we're in the process of putting our platform up online to get people scheduled. People that are actually appropriately guided to get that schedule. We were less than threatened last week 3 times by the state that if we vaccinate someone who is not in the guidance provided by the state, that there will be consequences. What that means, I'm not quite sure, but we're not willing to risk the entire counties to vaccinate any one individual. So the other thing is the distribution of the vaccine has been quite, not sure what the word is for it, quite confusing. This week, you may have heard we got 0 vaccines. And so we aren't having a vaccination clinic this week because we don't have any vaccines to give out. We have the capability to give out 500 to 1,000 easily in a week. If the state would just send them to us, we'd be happy to distribute them, but we don't have them. So right now the guidance is individuals in tier 1A and 1B. That would include any first line responders, EMS, fire, law enforcement, et cetera. And then a lot of the other individual nursing care facilities, et cetera, those sort of folks. And then the governor's inclusion now of the 70 plus individuals in the county as well. So we're trying to accommodate all of those. We currently have 600 people who have filled out our online form who claim to be in one of those categories, which is interesting because it doesn't even remotely come close to the numbers that we have of the people who are actually in those categories. So you see our challenge. How do we sift through those 600 plus people and really identify the people who are actually within the guidance to get vaccinated, get them scheduled and give them their vaccine? We'll be receiving later this week our second round for the first group of individuals who were vaccinated weeks ago for dissemination next week. Will be the 28 days since their first vaccine. So that's where it's at. Tell all your friends and neighbors that not to call us or sign up if they are not 70 plus and or do not fit into the category 1A or 1B and do not live in Clear Creek County. We cannot vaccinate half of Jefferson County. If vaccines were plentiful, we would have no issue with that at all, except they're not plentiful. We've only received 400 vaccines in total so far in the last 3 weeks. And so to have literally half of Jefferson County call us and demand a vaccine because they think they can get it quicker in Clear Creek County than they would in Jefferson County, which most given days they probably would. But we're not receiving enough vaccines. It also makes an incredible logistical challenge of understanding how many vaccines do we actually need? What is our population in terms of who we're going to give it out to? So it's presenting a continuous logistical challenge, and we're always on edge waiting for the governor to open his mouth and say something that will directly change what we're doing on any given moment. And so we've requested that not happen. Myself and my peers around the state, but I'm not holding my breath on that one. So any questions, comments, concerns?
Dr. Ryan, did you state that this new variant was 70 times more transmissible or more whatever?
I don't think they know exactly. It's a rough guesstimate. I would say, in all honesty, it's a rough guesstimate at this point. And it's probably not the only variant out there. Viruses change all the time. That's just what they do. If you think about our flu, right? That's the reason you need to get a flu vaccine every year, because it changes and mutates. And what we get this year is probably different than last year. So there are several variants out there. There's one from South Africa, one from England. And then there's likely, given the prevalence of the virus in this country so far, in the 21 million plus cases we've had, it is statistically highly likely that we have our own North American variant already in the works that's going on, just given the level of transmission that's happened here. That's sort of how it works. So if you combine all of those sorts of things, it's quite likely that we're headed down the path of something that's a little, far more transmissible. The good news is it does not seem to be any more fatal. And so far, based on the vaccines that are out, it does not seem to be resistant to the vaccines that we have currently available. That could change at some point in time, And so we'll sort of cross that bridge when we come to it. That would be a tragedy because we'd be basically be starting over. But we're not there, and I'm not suggesting that at all. But the virus will mutate and do what it does. And so we're just going to have to continue to be flexible and figure that out and move forward. But it all hinges back to where we started this conversation in March. Wear your face mask, socially distance, and do not have social gatherings. And this is true even once you get vaccinated. What we do know is that you can likely still get COVID, even though you're vaccinated, right? It's only 90 to 95% effective from keeping you from getting COVID. There's another 5% chance of you getting it and transmitting it onto others. It's highly unlikely, given the efficacy of the vaccine, that you're going to be either hospitalized or die from it, but you still potentially could transmit it. Now that transmission window is severely truncated because of your vaccination, right? As soon as your body recognizes it, it will do its best to get rid of it. But there is potentially still a small window where you could transmit it to others. So the vaccine, yes, protects you. It does not protect anyone around you. So wearing your mask and socially distancing and doing everything that we've been professing from the beginning is still going to be required for the foreseeable future. But we're giving the vaccines out as quick as we can. It's run very smoothly so far. I'm very proud of my team. They're doing absolutely a fantastic job and getting people scheduled and lined up and getting the vaccines out and distributed as quickly as we receive them.
Hey, Dr. Ryan, given that the governor consults with you on a regular basis, what's your feeling as to whether or not we could become more restrictive?
I appreciate your sarcasm, Randy. I have a lifelong subscription to that. More restrictive in what sense do you mean? You mean going fully back to red and or purple if things got out of control?
Yeah, I mean, just kind of what's your sense of the tea leaves on that?
So my understanding is the trigger point would really be around hospitalizations and hence his sudden and uncharted demand that we vaccinate everyone 70 plus. So the vast majority of folks, not all, but the vast majority of folks who are getting hospitalized or dying are in that age group 70 plus. So it's not, they didn't just pick that number out of the air. So if we can vaccinate those folks as quickly as humanly possible, that will have, as you might imagine, a significant impact on the potential for hospitals being overrun. That's really the only trigger point I've heard thus far. If our medical infrastructure is overrun, that's when the governor would pull that lever and say, okay, we're heading back the other direction. And if they were really overrun, it would be in a hurry. But I suspect they wouldn't be overrun necessarily in a hurry. It would take weeks for that to really happen, for us to see that coming. So, but that's the only trigger point that I'm really aware of that would trigger us going back. He was asked on a call last week specifically around gratuitously shifting everyone to orange and how long that lasts, what metrics are they using to move us back to red if that were the case. I mean, our numbers are now solidly in red right now. So we got the sounds of silence back in response. So it's very frustrating for my part. I want to provide you guys with the best possible information I can get you. And right now information is in short supply coming from that side. So we've expressed our frustration a zillion times. And so we're doing all we can to demand answers and to demand at least some sense of what they're thinking, right? So that when we start to see numbers, we can anticipate what will come, but we're not even getting that. And so it's been quite frustrating. And, you know, that's the unfortunate reality we live in.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Dr. Ryan? All right, thanks again, Dr. Ryan, for keeping us informed of what's going on. Of course, it's bad news to hear that we're going the wrong direction. All we can do is continue to do what we do the best, and that's make sure that our establishments and our businesses are following the criteria and following the guidelines to try to keep us where we're at least. So, okay. With that, we're going to go around the room, just talk about things people saw this weekend, ideas. One thing I want to ask Steve, are you still needing barriers?
I think we can get by without them. If you don't have them, don't go buy them for us.
We're not going to buy, John Bordoni said we'll have 5 of them. 3, if you still need those 2, we'll have them for you on, it's supposed to be Wednesday.
Yeah, originally it was a safety issue on that south side, so someone can't drive into that tent over there. So it'd be good to have one for that. The front, we can take one over there too. We'll look at it.
Okay. All right, those should be out Wednesday. Well, I got you, Steve. Talk about business this weekend. What did you see? Some things that are not working or things we might need to be thinking about?
Well, I can kind of tell because I can see the highway from my house on the weekends. And Saturday, the traffic was pretty stiff going up the hill. And we had, a little better numbers than Sunday. But all weekend, all Friday and the week coming up the weekend, the news was reporting how cold it was going to be in the mountains. So that kind of hurt a little bit, I think. Of course, they went orange down there. And then also on Sunday morning, there was an inversion in Denver. So it was cloudy and it was bluebird up here and at the ski area. It was nice and still and great skiing, but not a big crowd at the ski hill because of, I think, the news report stuff. We did have nice, calm, consistent numbers all day. There wasn't really any surge like sometimes you get on the weekends when traffic gets balled up. There was a closure on US 40 on Sunday afternoon until 6 o'clock because there was an accident and a death. So I don't know if that Winter Park crowd had to drive around and didn't come through town or not. The only other thing that we're having an issue with is on 14th, when you turn on 14th to go north, seems like a good amount of cars are parking facing the wrong direction on the west side and getting tickets. I can see them in our cameras on the weekends, and a lot of tickets being written and probably making unhappy customers. I don't know if there are customers or whose, but when you turn that corner and you look down the street, you can see the one-way across on the other side of Minor Street and the sign, and there's no real way to tell. And if they've been here in the past, it was a one-way street also. So a lot of tickets being written for cars parked next to our building over there.
Yeah, Steve, I've actually had a conversation with Chief on that because that was something that was brought to our attention too. We've actually have talked to a few parkers about that. And there is a stop sign on both sides right there, right outside on that street. And so what Chief told me, he said, if you park and you turn, if you can see a stop sign in front of you and behind you, you're obviously parked the wrong way. So we have been very mindful and when giving tickets, and we definitely drop a ticket if they are not paid, if they didn't pay and they are parked the wrong way. But we have definitely taken heed, and I know Zach has been definitely giving out tickets as well. So the city, along with interstate parking.
Yeah. When we see them, we go over there and tell them, and they're no problem. They're not doing it maliciously. Oh, we didn't notice, and they turn around right away and park the spot. But they're just banging that corner and see a spot and they pull right in. It's
right. And
obvious.
Yeah, and I think last time I talked to Chief that you guys, Mayor or Andy or John, I think the city was in the works of getting that area striped, correct?
Well, I believe so. Do you know what happened with that, Andy?
I'd have to check with John on that, John Bordoni. I'm not sure if that area ended up was still going to get striped or not. I know there was some striping done with crosswalks. I can follow up on that. I don't know the answer to that. Is there any particular signage, Danny or Steve, that you all think additional signing that might help in that area? What do you think might help? You mentioned striping. Is there anything else that might help in that block with awareness?
Some kind of sign, obviously.
Yeah, we can definitely, we can get we can get something up, a Windmaster or another sign, but I think where the confusion is caused is because some people who are parking there even the wrong way are paying for parking. And I just think it's a little confusing because it was a one-way once upon a time. And so people who are coming and visiting and driving through and used to parking are maybe just not paying attention. So I mean, from our perspective, from my perspective and from interstate standpoint, we can definitely get some signage saying, hey, don't forget to pay for your parking. But I'm not sure how the city would like to approach as it, you know, an extra sign saying two-way, not one-way parking. I'm not too sure.
So am I hearing there are really two issues? One issue is people not knowing that it's a two-way street. And the second issue is maybe not knowing that a certain area is paid parking? Is that what I'm hearing?
I think most of it is just people parking the wrong way, not realizing it's yeah.
Okay. Okay, I'll follow up on that.
Thank you.
Okay. Marcel?
Pretty good weekend, about as busy as last week, and no major hangups, just kind of weather dependent. I mean, when Saturday, I was surprised at how busy we were Saturday, even with the weather, and still people wanting to sit outside. But yeah, kind of just grinding along here. And if, we sufficiently didn't have anybody parking along the barriers. Any word on where that, on how that's going back there, the CDOT construction on the parking lot? Or am I jumping ahead? We can do that later if you need to.
They're digging through. The problem is now, as the city knew from construction, is when it starts getting below freezing, now they have a frost factor, and it takes a lot longer to dig those trenches. And what I'm going to talk to them about is once they get past, that would be some 16th, if they could get all those barriers and open that parking up, even with dirt, once they get past that. So we will be reaching out to them, Marcel, because that's what I'd like to do, is as they move along, get the parking back open and get them out of there. Okay. Let's see who else we have. Randy?
Yeah, I would say I wish we did as well as Marcel. We didn't hold up the last week. With last week being the holiday week, we dropped about 30%. But it was kind of pretty much where I thought that it would be. So no real surprise, at least from our perspective, but we were down about 30% compared to the prior week.
All right, thank you, Randy. Before I forget about it, Tuesday into Wednesday, they're calling for almost 100-mile-an-hour gusts up here. So anybody that's got anything outside needs to really make sure these things are tied down. If you look at those weather reports, when I saw that, it was very alarming, seeing 88-mile-an-hour gusts on Wednesday in Idaho Springs. So just a heads up for everybody, and talk to your neighbors and tell them to be aware as well. Sadie, how was your weekend?
It was, I also echo what Randy said. Definitely not as busy as the holiday weekend, but still a good weekend. I definitely think the cold, I think Steve mentioned it, the news talking about how freezing it was. The last week was definitely significantly slower than we'd seen it during the weekdays. So that was kind of disappointing. We are, again, still seeing such a large influx of tourism, and again, having to explain what's going on. So I don't know if there's any kind of, like, if we want to come up as a city having like the same piece of paper that comes out from Clear Creek Health or something on our doors. But I guess some businesses have something saying this much space, and I guess there's confusion that we're not all sending the same message. I know, like in Golden, they have, say, all of the rules for Golden that are like out and about everywhere. I think it's getting exhausting to have to explain constantly why we vary from, why one's door says this and why one business isn't open or whatever. That's the only thing I've noticed.
Okay. And I'm glad you mentioned that, Sadie. John, is there something that you can pull off the county website, or something that is all the same message? And how do we get those distributed? Either by email, so business owners can print them out and put them on their door, because I think that is a good point from Sadie, that the consistent message is what's going to be critical as we continue to move forward.
I will look into it and put something together.
Okay, thank you, John.
Especially if we want to look into trying to get to any kind of 5-star programming. That is one thing that is part of that program is massive consistent message and branding. So that is having signs out, having everything look the same and consistent, because that shows that people are working together, number one, and also two, that there can be little to no confusion with your guests.
Okay, we will definitely work on that. Thank you for that. Say, that's what this meeting is all about, is coming up with this stuff and finding out what where we're lacking a little bit and trying to get it correct and updated for everybody and be consistent. Let's see, Lindsay, how was your business? And then we're gonna talk real quick about the new PPP. If you haven't heard, we do have another round of PPP coming up. There are some guidelines that Lindsay can share with us. So Lindsay, start out with how your business was, and then let's talk about PPP.
Sure. So yeah, I mean, business was okay over the weekend. Saturday, much better than Sunday. And definitely during the week, seeing a slow down on Tuesday and Wednesdays, even Thursdays, but Friday, Saturday, Sunday being the best days of the week, of course. Everyone still seems fairly compliant on mask wearing. We had one guy come in without a mask, but for the most part, it's been all right. And let's see, on PPP, I'm still kind of gathering information, but one thing that I did want to let everyone know, for those that are applying for the round 2 of the Paycheck Protection Program, this is feedback that I received from a banker that is processing the applications. Fill out every single space in the application that's required. So in the fillable PDF, if you leave anything blank, it's just going to add more work on the banker and more time before you get your money. So that was one thing they asked me to tell everyone, is just make sure you're filling in every single blank space on that application and providing all of the information. Otherwise, it's just going to get sent right back to you. We do know, and again, I can answer any questions people have, that I'm able to, the Colorado Restaurant Association did a really, really helpful presentation where they brought in some attorneys to kind of analyze and explain round 2. And I'm looking for, that was on Friday. I'm hoping that they post it, and I'm going to be looking for it and posting it on our website and social media. Probably the most helpful resource I found as far as breaking the PPP round 2 down. But it's definitely in better shape than round 1. And I encourage everyone to take a look at that and see where it might benefit you, especially for restaurants. Your multiplier is 3.5% now instead of 2.5%. So you'll want to take a look at that. But again, any questions that people have, the other thing is get your application in like today. And it's a very simple application. And if it's under $150,000, you only have to show that loss, that I believe it's 20% or 25% loss for at the time of forgiveness. So just get your applications in because they're going to run out of money pretty quickly. Randy?
Yeah, you said get your applications in today. Most banks are not able to accept applications. Only community development banks are accepting them, and it may be Friday to Monday before the majority of banks are allowed to begin to participate.
Yeah, and that is true. So like Wells Fargo and some US Bank, those will come later. I know that a couple of local banks are processing applications. So, feel free to reach out. I can assist to getting you to the right people. You also can go to the SBA website and search lenders as well. But definitely this is a round that I would get into as quickly as possible, just given the fact that they're saying within 2 to 3 weeks, the funds might be dwindling. So yeah, that, and Randy's right. Some of the local banks, smaller banks are accepting applications currently. So definitely talk to your banker and get some more information for sure.
Hey, Sadie just chatted that Evergreen was accepting, but I got an email from Dan that said Evergreen wasn't accepting until after Wednesday. Sadie, have you confirmed? Did Dan Ebert tell you they're accepting?
I got so Gary Billings is my loan officer at Evergreen, and he sent me the application this morning and told me to turn it around same day.
Yeah, I would definitely get them in. They are, as far as I know, they're accepting as well. I talked to Dan earlier today.
Okay, good news.
So is that, because right now, only people that didn't apply for round one are able to apply today. So those of us that apply for round one, we're gonna have to wait till Wednesday before we can start filling out the application. Is that correct?
I applied for round one and got round one and was told to turn my application in today.
Yeah,
So-
and maybe Evergreen is accepting them, but the SBA website, as well as Dan Ebert's email, says that second rounds cannot be processed before Wednesday, and only community development banks can process on Wednesday. So I'm getting a little bit of conflicting information.
Wish we had Dan on here to talk to us.
I'm with First Bank, and I know we've been in communication, and she's just waiting for the paperwork to come through. She was thinking maybe today, but First Bank hasn't gotten their paperwork to make it happen yet.
I think the loan officers are getting the paperwork ready so that as soon as the opening window opens, they're ready to go.
Yeah, and I just reread my email from my guy, and he does say in there that he'll be holding my paperwork. So
Okay.
Okay. All right, that makes more sense. Okay, let's see, Mark, what was going on in Georgetown this weekend?
It was painfully slow up here this past weekend, but it's good. We expect it this time of the year. We're not as busy as Idaho Springs in general in January, February, March, April.
Okay.
But big hopes for the spring.
All right, thanks, Mark. So Alyssa, do you have anything for us? You're George from the county?
Everybody, happy Monday. I don't think I have anything at the moment. I've been emailing with a couple of you today, and I have some outstanding things, but I am working on that, and we should have everything wrapped up this week. So feel free to reach out to me. Just so everybody knows, we did go ahead and apply. There was some debate whether we were eligible or not. After talking to both CCI, DOLA, and CDPHE, I went ahead and applied, and the worst they could do is deny us. But DOLA and CCI firmly believe that we should be eligible and are willing to go to bat for us. We don't know exactly how much this is going to be. I anticipate them to be fairly small grants, around $3,000, but we figured it's better than nothing. So the application closed on the 8th, and I should hear something fairly soon. So hopefully I have news on that soon. Can't hear you, Mike.
Yep, thank you, Alyssa. Does anybody have any questions for Alyssa on grant applications round 2 or anything else?
One other quick thing, I am doing some analysis on the 5-star program right now. I sat in on a meeting last week that Craig Abrahamson was leading. I believe some of you were on that meeting. So I am in the information collecting phase at the moment. So I plan on giving this information to both our administration as well as the OCC, and they will take it from there. We are collecting information on it and trying to evaluate the process.
All right, thank you, Alyssa. All right, let's hear from, let's see who else I have. Terry, do you have anything that you'd like to update us about?
Not at this time.
All right, thanks,
Thank
Terry.
you.
Uh-huh. Okay, I'm just going to open it up for just conversation, kind of about anything, thoughts, ideas, or updates. Table's open.
Are we gonna are we gonna kind of hold off on this 5-star if based on what we've heard, or is we?
I think that we at least ought to get the document in place. Of course, as I said before, without participation, whether the county commissioners and Dr. Ryan signing off on it and giving the okay, as far as preparing the document and at least giving it to them to at least that they can have a chance to review it, to see if all the criteria is in there. And then, I'm still thinking, how many businesses would really need to do this? How could negatively affect some businesses as it positively affects other businesses. So I think there's a lot more that we need to know. And once we get the document together, I think we ought to continue to get a document in place and then present it to the county. Okay, anybody else?
Yeah, I'm just wondering how big of a pain point it is to optimize staffing and like how predictable the demand is from like week to week.
Are you talking about for a 5-star program?
No, for restaurants in general, just how big of a challenge staffing accuracy is, given the different dynamics that can create an influx in demand or not.
You're talking about staffing at the restaurants?
Right.
I don't know. I'm running on a skeleton crew. Some of the bigger operations, Steve, Marcel, or Chip.
We ran pretty heavy. It was hard to keep staffed up during the holidays. Now we're kind of ramping back down for this kind of season and keeping our A team on and doing our best with them. And it's working out pretty well, keeping our costs down.
Marcel?
Yeah, same. I brought a couple of new people on, and in hopes that with the outdoor dining expansion that we're poised to do, we'll probably hopefully have enough people to not have too many people working. It's just the square footage of this building so big. I just need I need the people I've got. But yeah, that's Gabe, that's a good question to ask, because that is the hardest thing, is to constantly expand and contract the operation back and forth has been kind of exhausting. Just being able to keep up with, because the guests want to come in all the time. Like whether we are restricted or not, there are people that want to come inside, and I'm not going to disobey any county ordinance, but the demand is always there. So I have to be ready as the steward of this business, I have to be ready to, accept that and make the most of those moments. So I'm trying to keep people on the wings as much as possible, but it's really hard to know. I mean, with the people that I've had furloughed as long as I have now, most of those people kind of know that they're not coming back until this whole thing's over.
Yep. So it's the COVID dynamics that create the staffing challenges more than you don't know that Sunday's going to have more demand than expected.
Yeah, the demand's there. I mean, the ski resorts are booked all season. It's people are going to come up by 70 until they close them. And has anyone heard? This is total hearsay, but I did hear from someone who I know who just came back from Aspen that there are whisperings of that county being locked down, going back down because they've had such an outbreak up there. Is that true? Has anyone else heard that?
I did hear that on the news. That's Pitkin County. And I did hear that they have, and they're a county that's been requiring people to take tests before they can come into the city. But yeah, and it sounds like they may be taking a big swing the other way and shutting it down back to purple. So I did hear that.
I just looked at the snow reports and Aspen hardly anybody's got snow, but Aspen's way down. And as far as you're taking care of watching your staffing and that's always a challenge. there's a lot of dynamics that are very consistent during the winter. Your weekdays are definitely going to be slower than your weekends. Your weekends are going to be busy. But if you got snow, you're not going to be nearly as busy as if you got good weather. So you just always have to be on top of that and try to read what the dynamics are that day, because things are pretty weather dependent in the mountains, and it can change. If it starts snowing at about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the evening business is going to be considerably slower than if it starts snowing at like 4 or 5 in the afternoon. So it's just kind of watching those flows and that, but it's an art. And the COVID's probably is making some differences, but there's the overall different dynamics of just the winters in the mountains.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have anything that they need to air out and get some clarification on, or ideas or thoughts or next steps? Andy?
Next Monday is a holiday. Do we want to consider moving this meeting to Tuesday at 2 o'clock?
I think that would be fine if everybody else is okay with it.
How does that work for the commissioner's schedule, George?
Oh.
I apologize. What are we discussing?
Oh, that's okay. Next Monday's a holiday, and we were talking about changing this meeting next week only to Tuesday at 2. Is that going to present a conflict for you with commissioners meeting?
Likely. I don't have that agenda right in front of me, but I mean, if I've skipped some of these, if you guys are putting something on the agenda you really want me to be here for, we could look at maybe Wednesday.
Yeah, this is just an open round table. I don't think that it's that big of a deal. I can catch you up.
I'll also be there. I'm at 2 on Tuesday. So if there's anything that needs to get back to the commissioners, I'm happy to transfer.
Okay, yeah, let's just do it on Tuesday. All right, with that, let's go ahead and call it a day for this meeting. Thanks everybody again for your participation and keeping up with all what we're supposed to keep up with out there. And as usual, if you have anything to discuss or thoughts or questions, John, Andy, or myself, feel free to reach out to us. We appreciate everybody. And thanks again, Dr. Ryan, for giving us an update.
You're welcome. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, everybody.
Hello.
Hey, I'm sure you caught it, but I just wanted to confirm that you'll change next week's meeting to Tuesday.
Yep, I'm doing it right this second, actually. So
just that one meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yep, no problem.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.